Hello, my sons. Man, imagine being so underappreciated that a whole year was dedicated to you. Heck, I can barely get a birthday, and that's just one day. Imagine if a fictional character got that. Well, I bet they won't do it twice. Alright, I'm just gonna stop talking.
Well, the old saying goes, Sega does what Nintendo don't. Now it's just Sega does what Nintendo did. Sega is no stranger to copying Nintendo, Sonic Lost World being a copy of Mario Galaxy, Sonic Frontiers was just a copy of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Sonic Unleashed is just Twilight Princess with a pinch of God of War gameplay.
Yep, can't believe that came out of my mouth either.
So, when Nintendo announced the Year of Luigi, it was only a matter of time before Sega did it for their younger brother figure mascot for Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think you got the wrong guy.
Yeah, instead of Tails getting his own year, they actually stuck with Shadow, which is the obviously cooler and more popular character, seeing as he has a very traumatic backstory. And people really just wanted to see this character back in the spotlight, considering his last appearance was in a game that... So Sega decided to pull a page from Nintendo's book and give the Black Rat his own year. That's right, the Year of Shadow is basically a ripoff of the Year of Luigi, but not celebrating an anniversary. It's just dedicating a whole year to him, which is kind of interesting to say, given that this wasn't really his birthday or anything like that. Rather, this was just a way to push sales. The campaigns, though, basically are the same. Basically just sell more Shadow and sell more Luigi.
Well, you don't say.
Since these are similar marketing ploys, I thought it would be interesting to compare the two. Considering Sega's been hitting it out of the park for once, and Nintendo is really pissing people off with Switch 2 prices, and especially during the Year of Luigi when, well, they were not doing so great with the Wii U.
I'm so sorry.
So, the Year of Luigi celebrated the 30th anniversary of Green Mario, the younger brother who really needed the spotlight. He was created in 1983 for the original Mario Brothers. You know, being a supporting character, Luigi would eventually become a phenomenon that succeeded Mario in some ways. Luigi's Mansion was the launch title of the GameCube, and was actually a thrill for both the player and the character, even though at the time, people were scratching their heads as to why Luigi was the headliner for their new console. Eventually, Luigi's Mansion spun off into its own franchise of games and remakes, each improving or not improving on the formula, depending on who you ask.
Alright, we're gonna go over the Luigi's Mansion franchise in one complete nutshell real quick. Alright, so first we have Luigi's Mansion 2. It got an HD remake. It was very linear, same as the 3DS port. Again, the hardware limitation really set this game back, as I feel like that was part of the linearity of it, but also part of its design, seeing as the 3DS was definitely capable of... Luigi's Mansion eventually was ported to the new 3DS family of systems. I don't have that copy, seeing as I have the original. This is where the men go to play Luigi's Mansion. This was a very scary game, giving that atmosphere that definitely set it apart from the Mushroom Kingdom happy-go-luckiness. I really did enjoy this, but they didn't really capitalize on the spookiness that, you know, the sequel should have provided. Now, that being said, Luigi's Mansion 3, on the other hand, well, that's just Hotel Mario 2 right there. I can't even make that up.
We say Year of Luigi, but I can't really call it much of a year, considering it only lasted from February 2013 to March of 2014. The only thing is, it just went over January, not actually celebrating a full length of a year, which is fine, but, you know, it's a bit of misleading marketing. Same goes for Shadow, though, in regards to not celebrating a full year. But Luigi's Mansion 2 wasn't the only game around this time for the spotlight, even though it was a big headliner, seeing as it was return to formula for Luigi, sort of. Being on the 3DS, it had a lot of hardware limitations. The game was indeed very linear compared to its predecessor, which a lot of people, myself included, weren't really that big of a fan of.
We waited how long, and this was the sequel we got?
But one of the real games that celebrated the Year of Luigi was Mario & Luigi Dream Team, where Luigi is literally center stage. As the name implies, Luigi is dreaming a decent chunk of this game. And again, it's really interesting to see how this game came together, putting Luigi center stage. This was part of the Mario & Luigi games where Alpha Dream took center stage. They made a ton of Mario & Luigi games, and they are one of Nintendo's most trusted developers, which is why they let them go out of business and bankrupt.
Oh yeah, just like Rare.
Sadly, Microsoft didn't save Alpha Dream from their untimely demise. They did manage to squeeze other games before bankruptcy. This was just the one that really focused on Luigi. Though, that wasn't the only thing focused on Luigi. There were a few special edition consoles in both Japan and America. These were really cool, and actually, the game was pre-installed with Mario and Luigi's Dream Team. Another unique focal point was Miiverse. It was a page dedicated solely to all things Luigi. No, I'm sure it's still searchable up on Miiverse. Let's go take a look.
I love how Nintendo preserves their media.
One thing that is preserved, though, is the advertisement for it. This is the Chicago L train. Specifically, it had Luigi decoration on it, and besides the theme, it was dubbed the Luigi line and ran on August 12th, marking the 30th anniversary of Luigi, also celebrating the release of New Super Luigi U, a spin-off of an already reused asset game, being New Super Mario Bros. U, giving Luigi the spotlight, though. It increases the difficulty, speeding the clock up, making levels harder for the player. Even though the game is a complete rip of New Super Mario Bros. U, the extra challenge and retelling of the story sort of justifies the game's extension. I wouldn't say it's some brand new adventure, but it's a nice little spin-off. We did get a new character out of this, though, in the form of Nabbit the Bandit.
Cool!
Another piece of advertisement that was cringy was Finding Luigi, a video that's still up on YouTube to this day, and you can easily find this. I just love watching this, since Nintendo was desperate at the time, and their sales were terrible and tanking. They were in the red for half of the Wii U's life, the 3DS being their saving grace during that generation of consoles. However, their marketing did do a lot of unique things, inviting people to just have a ball. I also find it funny seeing these obligatory Wii U and 3DS consoles in this little advertisement. The gimmick was parkour, seeing Luigi just jump around and such as he can jump higher in the games. They really hired some people to just do some parkour stuff, which just makes this hilarious and a great piece of advertisement. It's cringy for sure, but if you have 7 minutes to kill, it's hilarious and a beautiful piece of gaming history and Nintendo history. Luigi also cameoed a lot in Mario 3D World, not just as a playable character, but you can see his sprite form in a lot of different areas in the game. You can also unlock the original Mario Bros.
Luigi Brothers.
Which is a cool addition to the game.
That's right, Nintendo. I own this one. There was also Super Luigi Brothers in the NES Remix Pack. It was an alternate version of Super Mario Brothers for the NES. Basically just putting the courses backwards, and that's pretty much it, where Luigi is the star of the show. It didn't really do anything spectacular. It was just a simple ROM hack, basically. And, it was a cool addition to have to the, NES Remix Pack, but not many people had a Wii U enough to kind of really talk about it.
The last game-related thing was Dr. Luigi, a unique experience where all the drugs were in the shape of an L, signifying that this is definitely Dr. Luigi. It's a unique game, and I would recommend it to any fan of the Dr. Mario series. Let me just turn on the old Nintendo eShop and show you the game's listing. I mean, after all, it was a pretty cheap game back in the day.
Boy, my childhood certainly deserved better than that.
To double down on the depression, Club Nintendo had rewards for a variety of things, all things Luigi. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, why is that depressing? Club Nintendo does not exist anymore. Instead, we got... Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, next you're gonna tell me they got rid of the best part about this new program they made. Why?
Well, to triple down on the depression, Danny Wells, the actor who played Luigi in the Super Mario Super Show for the 52 episodes, or 53 episodes that aired, had passed away. Having fans mourn his loss, to me, isn't something that should be frowned upon. It should be more of a celebration of the actor and everything they've accomplished. That's how I see death, but I know obviously everyone doesn't see it that way, and of course this was a very sad time for the Nintendo fans everywhere. But I truly think that if it wasn't for the year of Luigi, this actor wouldn't have gotten as much recognition. Not saying that he didn't deserve the recognition, I'm just saying since it was the year of Luigi and an actor who played Luigi just happened to die during this time, it only doubled down to make it really, well known.
Ironically enough, that was actually one of the first things I ever thought about for the channel. Giving actors, voice actors, artists, animators, people who unfortunately have passed away the recognition they deserve. Sometimes you see in game end credits, it says, in memory of, and one of the developers is there. There's something along those lines. I feel like it's one of those things that people don't get to talk about as much, seeing as we live in a very corporatized game development world now. The Bungie we know today is different than the Bungie we know back during the Xbox 360 days. And it's very unfortunate. But, that being said, it was an interesting look back on Luigi's big 3-0. I wouldn't say it was bad, just that the Wii U games didn't carry it as much as it should have. Only diehard fans like me were really paying that much attention. And especially with the 3DS games, they just seemed like regularly scheduled games. They seemed like they were already in development prior to the idea of the Year of Luigi. They just seemed like regular games. Luigi being the main focus just seems more like a coincidence than anything else while playing these games, outside of maybe New Super Luigi U. That's pretty much the only one I can kind of be like, alright, this is a little weird. But that's because it's a copy of New Super Mario Bros. So, with that in mind, I think the real win was the Chicago train. I'm sorry, people in Chicago really got a win and a taste of Luigi that year, solely based on the fact that most people's commute to work through that train. Could you just imagine being surrounded by Luigi? Anyway, so let's talk about the Year of Shadow. Or should I say, the fearless Year of Shadow. It still sounds stupid. I'm sorry. I really don't like calling it the fearless Year of Shadow. Let's just go to the next character. Whoa, chill, it was just a prank.
Shadow the Hedgehog, well, certainly not the actual younger brother of Sonic. That being Tails, Shadow was a result of Sega's, quote, last Sonic game being Sonic Adventure 2.
Or any game for that matter. They were bankrupt at that point. This was their Hail Mary.
Where this was said that it was supposed to be an all-out banger. Just, screw it, let's give our best shot. And boy, was it their best shot. They're still making software to this day. This was the only reason to have a Dreamcast. Honestly, the Dreamcast was ahead of its time in more ways than one, but sadly the console was a commercial failure. The only thing that wasn't a failure of this was Shadow's marketing. Being the edgier version of Sonic when it comes to his own complications, we'll say. Shadow is a character that also suffers from PTSD.
Oh my gosh, same. I'm clinically afraid of women.
It's okay, my fear of women is only soothed by advertisement. Thankfully, the Year of Shadow had a plethora of advertisement that ranged from interviews to character talks to working with the Paralympics. Yeah, the year 2024 was an interesting year for the Black Hedgehog.
Great cause. I just wonder if Sega's marketing team understood the irony in, working with the Paralympics. It's a little funny. Great cause. Just the irony is right there.
What's not confusing is the fact that they made a Shadow the Hedgehog motorcycle, and oh my gosh, this is just so cool! So, the original Shadow game in 2004, in my opinion, wasn't that bad, but it showed this motorcycle in the game. Basically, it was the early 2000s edgelords that really enjoyed this. I was one of them. But yes, the game was not bad in my opinion. It could also be from the Sega All-Stars racing games, but, this motorcycle was paraded around to show off certain areas. Basically a big old advertisement. This doesn't seem to be a giveaway, as I don't think Sonic fans would emotionally have been able to handle one person getting this. They're already foaming at the mouth, simply just looking at this thing on the screen.
Oh my god, he's so cool!
Also, the Sonic 3 movie came out, and it was a banger and a showstopper in theaters. The only thing in the theaters also that was playing was... So, the cringy autistic Sonic community finally got the recognition by taking on the cringy adult Disney community. The movie was amazing in every sense of the word. I really didn't expect such a weird turnaround with Maria's story. And since she didn't get shot, people in the theater, at least in my theater, were very upset about it. So to make up for that, I decided to put this clip for the Sonic Symphony. Also, speaking of the Sonic movie...
Oh my god, he's so cool! Look at him! Ah!
So yeah, the Sonic Symphony was part of the Year of Shadow, and basically it was just fine. I mean, it was mentioned, but we really focused more on the Sonic Symphony portion of it, which again is fine. Some of the last things are DLC for Sonic Dream Team, a niche game I'm still waiting to be ported to Steam, and DLC for Sonic X Shadow Generations. Don't worry, you heard that right.
That's right. Sonic X Shadow, pause, Generations. Make sure you add Generations at the end of that when you Google this, okay?
Besides the obvious, Sonic Generations getting a remake, we get a Bowser's Fury worth of story when it comes to Shadow, explaining how and where he was in Sonic Generations to begin with. Also adding to more of the trauma of losing his loved ones yet again. The issue I really mainly have with this game is he's already gone through this acceptance arc of losing his, beloved friends or family in the 2004 game that basically didn't really need to be retold or something like that. I mean, I guess you could give the argument of newer audiences. I don't know, this just seemed like a total waste to me. Instead of doing something new, they decided to play it safe. So, what conclusion for both of these years do I have? Well, in terms of money and revenue, Shadow wins by a milestone. But since it was an anniversary for Luigi, I would say the celebration part he wins more of. Don't get me wrong, Shadow had the cool motorcycle, but in the end of the day, Luigi has that legacy, obviously being tied to Mario. The difference between Shadow and Luigi is Shadow doesn't need your respect. He's already cool and basically is awesome. And then Luigi, he doesn't get respect because he's player 2, but, he kind of deserves it. While Luigi's getting trampled on by Mario in tennis, and Shadow straight up almost kills Sonic on the regular, these characters have their own quirks, which really makes them hard to pick out when it comes to who was number 1 in terms of their celebrated year. Seeing as Nintendo lost money on this, and Sega gained so much money during these campaigns, it just really showed that this was both for the fans. And I really enjoyed both of these years of growing up and now being an adult, being able to look back on these. It just made me realize that just Sega doing something better than Nintendo for once was just interesting. Also, the fact that the Sonic 3 movie came out and was based on one of the most popular games ever made, while Luigi lost some of his magic with the passing of one of the original actors, it each felt like a different writing of how these years went. Don't get me wrong, these both have my mutual respect, but, both of these parties in comparison, it just kinda falls a little flat on both ends. For different reasons. Luigi for not really bringing too much new to the table, and the celebration being tied to this, and then Shadow basically just retelling the same story twice after already being retold in one of the best games of all time.
So, my sons, the Year of Luigi and the Year of Shadow, the Fearless Year of Shadow, were both interesting marketing, tactics used to, obviously promote their respective companies and their respective characters. I really didn't want to put one above the other, and I really couldn't find a reason to outside of money, and that's not really something I really wanted to look at. I wanted to see fan reaction, and of course, Nintendo fans are gonna go crazy, same with the Sega fans. But when it really comes down to it, these both had interesting marketing, whether it's the train with Luigi or the bike with Shadow. I missed when companies did something unique like this more often than not, and now it's kind of relegated to just boring press conferences. You look at a Nintendo Direct now versus a Nintendo Direct in 2013 or even, before the Switch launched, then there was a lot of heart to it. There was a lot of heart when Luigi's Mansion 2 came out. Don't get me wrong, I still don't like this game. But also, people didn't like this game at launch. I actually like this game. I'm sorry. I know people are gonna, tell me that's a hot takedown in the comments down below. But this was a good deviation from the Zelda Marathon. And, I just... it was interesting. I wanted to make this video for a while because I thought that this would be a more clear-cut thing, seeing as Shadow sold more. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that it wasn't that simple. It was just money and a movie. But the Mario movie came out, but not during the Year of Luigi, so I couldn't really use that for comparison because each side had different things to compare that didn't really have any equal. you're really gonna compare Dr. Luigi to the Sonic 3 movie, or, you know, Sonic X Shadow Generations? No, Luigi had more games out at this time, and Shadow had more celebration. So it was interesting that I couldn't compare them. I compared them, but I couldn't go one-to-one with everything. Now, with that being said, I kind of want to know what everyone else thinks down below, just because I don't know what the right answer is, and I don't think there is a right answer, seeing as, you know, these characters have legacies, but for various reasons. Also, one more thing before I head out, Camilla Bombet made a short on, like, Instagram that I saw for mic etiquette, you know, with distance and the mic, and I'm going to put that short down below, just in case another small creator needs help with the mic, because I certainly did, and she helped me out a ton with just that little bit. So, you know, support small creators. I don't think she's a small creator, but she reached out, and it was great, it was nice, because I thanked her, so, and she allowed me to put her in the end of this episode. With that in mind, guys, thank you for watching, and you, my beautiful sons, are wonderful. All 200-something of you at the time of making this video. You're goated. Just remember that. You're loved. Happy Men's Mental Health Month to all of you out there. Just remember, it's okay to feel. And I love you all very much.